I had my doubts about what is going on. It's not normal anymore in the world. We can call it a new normal. That applied to previously COVID situation. We were talking about COVID. We believed we shouldn't come out. Now we say even when COVID is there, you can come out. Because we think we are protected by the immunization. But the immunization vaccines, they say it is valid only for 3 months, 6 months. So more of our mind and courage than the medicines that take us out and mingle when previous few years we had homebound or we were locked up. So this is about COVID situation, but what about what is happening in the world? It's a big replay of what happened during World War II when Allied forces and Axis forces were all the autocratic countries, and Allied forces were all democratic forces. They grouped together and formed two opposite parties to fight each other. That is World War. More than 60 million, I mean, statistical figures say 60 million, and analysts say it's more than 100 million people died, wounded, civilians, and army men, everybody. And nuclear, we saw the first nuclear explosion during that period. So what's happening now, it's almost same. Democratic forces want to join together. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and wherever autocrats are there, they want to join together and form an alliance. They pursue their own ambition. That ambition, we know Russia wants land. It wants to re-establish the old Russia that Kosygin or they handed over or they dissolved USSR. He wants to create. Putin wants to create, and China has looked back for 200, 300 years before what Silk Route was there. They wanted to create their motive, the dictator, whoever is, we call them ruler, whatever name you call. So he wants one China, everybody to follow what China policy is, the same like Russia is going back to old ways of attacking, brutal attacks for the cities. North Korea threatens the world by nuclear bombs. China wanted to take over its sister, I mean it's nearby Taiwan. So Iran wants to supply to Russia for onslaught, Georgia. I mean, many countries want to join that bloc. So many kind of breaks. So these are all about NATO is, it's enlivened now. It is almost dead, but because of the war, so Europe, America, all countries come together. They talk about so AUKUS, Australia, UK, and US combination. They wanted to manufacture submarines, and China wants to master the satellites, drones. New system of easy attack has come into play. So we don't need the fast ways of fighting like tanks and ammunition. Now a drone can do, which is very cheaper compared to. But when you want to grab the land, we want to defend the land, then you need all those old things, but for a attack you don't need. So anybody, now the situation is so fluid because anybody can attack anybody. They don't need to go to their land. It's not because of the air force. Air force can be intercepted in between, but drones, unmanned drones can fly to any. So the war game, not only war game, the entire thinking about the defense has totally changed now. So nobody now, no country can say we are safe and we safeguarded everything. And cyber attacks happening every day in many countries. In Australia, many times it happened, and all the confidential information about millions of customers are taken away. So any day, and now the bank run in US, several banks are undergoing crisis situation, and cryptocurrencies are also not doing very well. Still they are there, but they are also struggling. Companies, sometimes the shares go up and down. Gold is gaining. There is a reason for that. Russia and Mexico and some countries, they want to make gold as a standard. So they go back and say the currency system as it is one-sided. It is singularly benefiting US because they are controlling it. The exchange system is basic because because of the inflation, US Fed has increased the rates several times, 10 times, 12 times. So the interest rate has gone up so much, and that's why investors just throw away the bonds, everything, and they go for the US federal bonds, because the interest rate they will get on that is very much more than whatever they could get in some other investment. So currency wise, manipulations are not possible, because when the currency has got a lot of interest rate hikes, it gains, especially when US is doing everybody well. But the international order system is not I mean, the several countries joined together to thwart that. So India, India is talking to neighbors, and it wants to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. They want to trade in Indian rupees. Same way, China is talking to many of its trade partners. So they want to trade in their own currencies. So BRICS is talking about a BRICS currency. So that will not be based on the US dollar. There will be a different one. So everybody wants to dump US dollar now. Gold standard, whoever got gold, Mexico and Russia, they got gold. They want a gold standard. Each one wants a different thing. They are not satisfied with the existing thing. So banks are on the run, because the entire monetary policy, the way we operated, it is totally challenged today, because when inflation comes in, the interest rates are high, the flight of deposits and capital from the banks is so much, and within few days a bank can fall and investor sentiment can change. So few banks are already they are facing it. So prudential norms in Australia, it created a buffer. Still that buffer can't exist, and the cash rate, the monetary policies of government during the COVID time, both US and Europe and say many countries in the world, they just opened up their currency chest and help the people, even India. So they gave free cash to everybody. Now people understood the government can give them free cash, and the companies uh, were seeing all the employees were working from home. Now this the employees got the feel of what how it looks like when you're working from home. So employees don't want to go back to work, but employers want them to come to the work. That's why so many redundancies happen in IT sector. IT sector, so from big companies to small companies, they shed the employees. Very clear, uh, uh, very clear uh, seeing of what is happening. It's falling. The entire financial, defense, and monetary system is totally failing us, and a new system may emerge if there is no conflict, there is no uniform um, opinion about anything. G20, G7, everything. And when Russia, the sanctions on Russia opened up another Pandora's box. Initially, the Russian currency was falling like anything, but it recovered. How it recovered? Still, people are questioning how. Um, and Russia's censorship works. Nobody knows what is happening in the war. And same way, China is also propagating whatever the president says, whatever the chairman says in their country. So it's a tight situation where democracy. So now the lining up of democratic countries against autocratic countries is happening in a different way, and cyber attacks are happening. So all the money in the banking system could vanish one day if the hijackers the hackers have their own way. And there are preventative mechanisms, but the versatility of it, effectiveness is not tested. And any countries, the spyware can take away everything the government stored in a computer can be taken away within, if the hacker could get into it. The defensive mechanism in IT sector, I don't know. I mean, otherwise they can disable your system by several methods. They can just make your browser, your system don't work. That in that way also they can get. So when say a country can invade, the defend the IT sector, the can be the IT services can be totally stalled. We saw too many old data, anti, the brutal, the animal-like warfare in the Russian-Ukrainian war. So are we going back to the in civilization? Only El Nino effect is happening in. Uh, so in you take Australia, we never had this kind of floods and rain for maybe 100 years. Now it is happening, flooding in very unexpected areas happen. Not one day, 2 day. It was happening for throughout the year, last year, and they say it may continue. Now the central banks on their own, they they lost on anything. To tame inflation, they just increase the tax rate alone. They don't consider I mean, they are exposed now. They say only when the unemployment figures grow or people go out of employment and their wages come down, see, then only the inflation can be tamed. That means the we never knew this was the real real, implicit uh, mandate to retain, to get the inflation under control. If they have to, they are expect, they want the economy to uh, reduce its employment figure, and so many people have to be unemployed and their wages have to come down. These uh, these were their expectation, so they were waiting for that. And houses during the COVID time, people in Australia, New Zealand, they had nowhere to go. They just went online and purchased properties after properties. At that time, only 1.5 year or a little bit more, the property prices went by 35, 30 to 42% in very short period of 1.5 years. That's why the properties bubble now. When they are trying to tame the inflation, the first they expect the first um, affected one will be property sector. It has come down, still it has not come down. Uh, there are analysts saying it is stable, it will go up. Some analysts say it will come down, it has to come down to 30%, 40% for it to affect. If it has to come down to 40%, that's a crash. And most of the investors are trying to get out of their properties just because the rents have also increased. So that is not the cause for the property investors to go out, because they get there. But the the way the interest rates are going up and expenses go up, the rents can't match. Although rents have increased 22% in 1 year, that's huge. So still property owners are not satisfied, and how can renters give that kind of armor? So renters have accepted 50% interest rate hike. So is it normal? It's not normal time. That's what I'm saying. This is abnormal time we are running. So we think we have to be prepared, and uh, so we can't rely on even our own currency. That's the state of affairs. We can't rely on our own properties. We can't rely on our own share market. Anything is under it's very flux situation. Anything can happen. So can we rely on gold? To some extent, but it's not that heavy weight. So what can, so NFT, non-fungible assets, people are creating as an additional one. Cryptocurrencies also, so many were there. So we have to save. If we can't safeguard, we have to give up and wait for, because safeguarding is one sector safeguarding against another sector who can't safeguard. So safeguarding is not working. What we can do is we will wait for anybody suffering. We can go and help. For our suffering, they will come to help us. So mutual help without depending on the system, showing love to others and getting love without any expectation. Because all the trading, all the financial system, they want somebody to be intelligent and safeguarding and saving for the future. Retirement funds are in the eyes of the government. They won't have a run on that, because the money, defense purchases, they're about $400 billion submarine deal. So how can we pay for that? They look for the superannuation fund for uh, building shortages also. They want to create fund to build houses from the super fund, and they want the superannuation trustees not to expect quicker profits, rather than they have to wait for the property sector. They build houses and rent it out or something, cheaper houses, they can, in the long run they can. So everything, even if you are satisfied with the superannuation, you are thinking about your uh, nest, retirement nest, nothing is working. So totally we rely on some unnatural forces, natural forces, because the total system is exposed as built on selfish motive. And I give you this, you give me that. It's like a trading. I give, so this system will not work anymore in these kind of special circumstances. Another system that will come, whatever you, I don't want you to give me anything, I want to give whatever I have. I want to help others. If anybody, there are some examples, it will come slowly. It's happening during COVID, during war. People come out without any expectation. Their lives were under threat. They came and helped Ukraine. And in COVID situation, people came and helped out of their funds or their help, body work. There they put all everything. So man is totally bound by law. He is love personified, but the system are bereft of law. They are very rigid. So there is a war between the humanity that is existing in every human being versus the system. So systems will go away, the humanity will win. This is my understanding.